Product Talk with Malti.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Product Talk with Malti. And I'm so excited to have Dr. Geetha Manjunath with me, who is the founder, CEO, CTO of Niramai Health Analytics. Thank you, Geetha, for being here today.
Thanks, Malti. It's a great pleasure to be on your show. Thanks for
Thank
inviting.
you. A few months back when I attended your talk at, I am Bangalore for the ISPMA conference, I really was so inspired and was so sure that I wanted to have you on the podcast and talk the goodness of the products that you have built.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
let me give a little introduction, right? And so Dr. Geetha Manjunath, she has done her PhD in computer science from IISc. And as I already said, she is the founder, CEO, and CTO of Niramai Health Analytics, which has actually developed AI-based early stage breast cancer detection, and most important, in a completely non-invasive radiation-free manner, right? That's a very important thing. And the she has been bestowed with a lot of national international recognitions, right? And the just list that just goes on. And she's an inspiration to a lot of people. And another facet which I just realized yesterday was that she's also an author,
Yeah,
right? And her product has been already being used, as I read in your website, Geeta. It has been already used by more than 1 lakh women, and
true.
you have already done more than 5,000 camps across India.
Many more,
And
actually. Yeah.
yeah, and the product is already being used in a lot of other countries as well. So amazing aspect,
Thank
Geeta.
you. Thank you so much, Malti. Really appreciate your comments.
So, what inspired you to start Niramai, and how has been the journey like?
Yeah, I think for any innovator, researcher, technologist that I actually was, right, has been, I think when the idea meets the ground, that's what is the main inspiration, which makes you, keeps you going. But the first time I thought about this problem or the need for this problem to be solved was actually way back in 2015, 2016, long ago, when I was a lab director at Xerox Research, heading AI research for India. And actually, overall, Xerox also, we had a couple of labs only working on data analytics, as it was called at that time. It was a great team, excellent company, where we had this opportunity to innovate for the next 5 years and then say, what's the life going to be like after 5 years? What would people need? And generally having the whole world as our audience and trying to innovate new stuff in different domains, healthcare, education, customer care, and general machine learning algorithms, etc. Um, and so all was going well, and we were working with many hospitals for doing several of the pilots and so on as well. But that is when, unfortunately, a very close cousin sister of mine, Bharti, she got detected with breast cancer, and she was just around 40, 42 years of age. And it was late detection. And basically, she had a surgery, but she couldn't survive long. So this was a major blow for me. And I was just trying to see, why are people dying so early? Because if you actually lose somebody very close to you suddenly and at a young age with a young son, small family, all of that, no, it's really, you can see the trauma that it creates on the whole people around you, right? So that's something I saw, and then started googling around to figure out what what are the sort of causes and so on and so forth. And I realized that she had taken mammography and other tests, but it did not work for her, and she actually had detected very late, right? So that is one thing. Then I said, okay, we are trying to solve so many problems in this world, probably not so much relatable to India and people around me. So, and here is this problem which later I figured out that so many women are dying. So how can I help solve this problem? So that's when I started discussing with people, is there any other methodology, is there any other imaging we can use, etc. And one of my um, friends, imaging friends, sent me a paper, long old paper about thermal imaging, and I started reading about it. And then I said, okay, it's such a wonderful technique, but why is it not being used? And I figured out, there are lots of FDA rules, etc., saying it's not great, etc. So then, because it's like already had a nice hammer, which is AI. So I said, okay, can we use AI for making it more accurate? Because that was the main gap that was seen. And so that is when I started a small project within my previous organization itself. And after about a year or so, I decided, I can't do this after, along with some 25, 30 other projects. So I quit my job and started Niramai. So I started really on the ground in 2017 January. So it's been quite some time. Uh, I did have little exposure to business. One, because I had like management education from Kellogg's, thanks to Xerox for sponsoring it. But in addition, I was also part of some of the entrepreneurial efforts that my husband was taking in the education domain. But beyond that, writing business proposals, etc., was of course part of my regular lab director role. But as a starter, raising funds, everything has been sort of very, very new, and learned a lot in the last 7 to 8 years. And I just wanted to solve this problem. I didn't know where we were going, but here we are. Looks like we've invented a very new method of detecting breast cancer, which is pretty new in the whole world now. That's
Yeah.
the story.
And I think if yeah, no, that's very, very inspiring, like to be able to apply your knowledge to be able to solve a real world problem, right? And especially, yeah, you're right. I mean, when you were talking about the healthcare part, right? Because there are so many regulations, and it is a very, very constrained zone, right, to build products. And if I'm not wrong, I think of all forms of cancer, especially in women, breast cancer is definitely one of the higher percentages with which women suffer. Is that right?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's the top cancer of incidences, top cancer of deaths. More than 25 to 28%, depends on the country, of cancer deaths are just because of breast cancer in women, particularly. And
Oh my God.
unfortunate thing is, this is one of the most curable of all the cancers, right? Nobody needs to die of
Hmm.
breast cancer. If we can actually detect it in stage 0 or stage 1, we can have 90-95% survival rate. The main problem is we are detecting late, because most women, even I was thinking earlier before Nirmai, that
Hmm.
even there is a lump, you need to go. There's no need to do a regular screening, right? But that's not true. Every person,
Hmm.
literally every person above 25, needs to at least do a quick scan of her breast once a year. Because if there is an organ which can take away a life of a person, you have to take care of it, right? So one scan every year, that's all we need, so that we can detect as early as possible. And if you detect it in first 1 year or so, then actually, the person can live for 30, 40 years even after the surgery. No need for chemo, no need for any of the drastic treatment procedures. Also, it is one of the most manageable of all the cancers, thanks to medical science, which has progressed a lot in the oncology. Only thing is, we need people to come at the right time to get to the treatment. So that is what our test enables.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. And I think there's a lot of lack of awareness as well, right? So tell me, in this journey, what has been the kind of experiences you have had, or what has been the kind of you've been able to bring in the impact with your product?
I think, first and foremost, where we stand today, we have screened more than 200,000 women. The number keeps increasing every day. We initially, of course, started off in India.
Hmm.
During COVID, of course, we got really nicely thrashed. But at the same time, we used to actually get international regulatory clearances, because anyway, we were not supposed to go out and do things. So we sat inside the homes and did all the process stuff and regulatory documentation. So last year, pretty much last year onwards, we've been also nicely recognized outside India, and used outside India as well. So now we are in 12 plus countries, which is including a couple of countries in Southeast Asia like Philippines, Nepal, etc. Then we do have in UAE a wonderful partner. Then we have in Europe, which is Turkey, Sweden, Bulgaria, and US also. We have two doctors who are using it at this point in time. A couple of other countries as well, of course, in Africa where it's most needed, Kenya, Zambia, etc. So that's where we have been able to go. The best part is our test is completely portable, right? And it's just, I don't have it today, but it's just like a handheld thermal imaging device. And so you can put it in a backpack and take it out and do the screening outside a hospital as well, not necessarily inside. Yes, definitely it can be used in diagnostic center, private clinics, even in big hospitals to screen women who are not able to be detected by mammography because of their age, etc. But all of these clinical settings, that's where we can definitely use it. We are in 250 plus locations in India alone today. And then we also can use it in outreach. As I mentioned, backpack, take it out. So we have a kit bag, which our team takes it and then uses for screening. And we can screen in corporate offices, apartment complexes, rural areas as well. So excellent feedback from the user. I think that's what takes most of the time, right? Because the best part of our solution is it's completely privacy aware. So we have a booth-like structure. The lady sits inside, the technician is outside.
Uh-huh.
So it's like a changing room. You go inside, close all the doors or curtains, depends on what situation, and then remove the clothes, sit in front of this device. It's like a passport photography session, I would say. It's placed 3 feet from the person, and you sit like this, and about 5 to 10 minutes you sit there and wear the clothes and come out. The report will be ready pretty much. In a diagnostic setting, obviously the report gets reviewed by an expert doctor before giving it to the end user. But in a screening triaging setting, typically in rural areas where you cannot find the person later to give a report, etc., we give instant reporting. So it's been fabulous feedback from the end users because no one touches you, no one sort of sees you also when you're not wearing clothes. And generally other type of techniques have some compression pain, none of those are there. And best part also is that it is just measuring temperature, absolutely no side effects. You can measure as many times as you want. You can do the test many times in a day as well, though many of the other tests cannot even be done once a year because of the radiation effects and so on. So all of this makes it very, very user friendly, and obviously it is accurate enough so that they can depend on this technique for screening. And if there is an abnormality, then she goes for a full diagnostic workup, which obviously she needs to go to a hospital for full diagnosis, and of course biopsy is the final confirmatory test. So this is how it is. The experience from the end users have been fabulous, as I mentioned. From the doctors, initially it was lukewarm. What is this? I've never heard of before, etc. So we collaborated with doctors, partnered with them to conduct clinical studies, in a very, very formal manner. That's something I had to learn from scratch because I am not from a full medical background before. But it's very much like research, So just like you would set up experiments to compare one with another, you actually make this test happen, and then the same person goes for mammography, ultrasound, etc., and then you compare the two at the end of the study. So these kind of clinical studies have been done in a completely blinded fashion with expert doctors around the world now, and excellent results have been seen so far. So yeah, it's amazing to see the impact on the ground more and more.
Yeah, I mean, I think the key part which you spoke about, first of all, yeah, very, very, very inspiring journey, and to be able to, do that outreach at a very ground root level, areas where it is so difficult to, carry such things, and probably one follow up on that, any verbatim, any experience, especially, these uneducated rural setups where your technicians are going there. Is there a lot of reluctance? Are the women kind of okay to come and do these tests? Because, for example, in my own circle, right, I know a lot of women who probably think that, okay, I don't want to do mammogram till I have crossed 40, right? If anything will happen, it'll happen today. It'll happen later.
Later. Sure.
So I'm a little curious that how will a woman who's probably illiterate, who at a lot of times does not even prioritize her own health, any experience that you want to share with us?
Yeah, sure. So initially, I was also thinking the same, right? We used to call it infrared camera. So what it looks like camera, will they come in? And we actually created a box around it. We took it and all of that. Honestly, none of those matter. What matters is how you
Uh-huh.
educate them, how you tell them how it's useful to their own life and their own economics. It's very important to connect them to the economics of like financial aspects of it. But so first few months, years, I was going for doing all the screening myself, right? Because you have to be in the shoes
Uh-huh.
of the end user to actually sort of feel that, right?
Correct.
And so I
Correct.
really recall so many old ladies, they used to come in. So typically how this happens is that we work with the local organization who will organize the camp. So because they actually trust the local people, it could be a cancer society, it could be an MLA, or it could be just a government, right? Primary healthcare center, etc. And they kind of mobilize people. They announce the camp is happening. It's a free camp. Usually in villages it's usually sponsored, so it's a free camp, etc. So people walk in on that day, with a list of problems that they have, and they need to be solved in healthcare itself.
Mm-hmm.
So when they come in, they're not coming particularly for their screening. They don't know. They know that it's a women's screening. They come in and then we explain to them, and so many people are happy that we are asking them about a body part which they're so shy to talk to others. And they're also not looked at in a good manner if they complain anything in that area, right? So when we ask, is there
Mm-hmm.
any pain? Do you have any lump? Do you have any other, feeling there? And we would be testing you. You need to come in, and nobody sees you, and that's the catch, right? We just say we are going to put the curtain, and then you be other side, and the technician is not going to see you as well. They're very very happy. They're in line, standing in line trying to do this, and then they come in, and I also we have to make it like more fun. We say like five-step process. So it's like a five-step dance process: frontal, left, right, and we put stickers on the ground to show where to keep their feet, etc. So you just have to relate to their level of awareness and then talk to them in that regard. But it has been very very positive. In fact, they're very happy that there is a machine and a computer doing the test, which is more sophisticated according to them as well, right? That's another positive element that I have seen many times. So yeah, and one of the ladies, I remember, she did have a problem and nobody had ever asked her, even at home. And when I asked her and she complained about the lump and we did the checking, she actually touched my feet. She was elderly. I said, like, please don't do it. Like, she was so grateful. So I still remember some of these experiences. And I think we have helped so many women to detect any abnormality early. They never knew that they had anything. So typically we work with government and cancer societies and sponsors. So because of that, they feel comfortable coming in and doing this test. The only issue we still face, while it is mostly solved, but it still needs addressing, is making sure that if a person is found to be positive, that they actually go for full diagnostic tests in a nearby hospital and do it. That we are trying to make that more rugged. But yeah, sometimes there are like fall throughs. They just don't go right because they don't know where to go, etc. So we try to get navigation
Right.
patient navigators and try to do that as well. But it's been an excellent experience, yeah, from the end users
Awesome.
first.
Yeah. Yeah. After the detection, the follow-up is also so critical,
Very
right?
very
So,
important,
yeah, I
yes.
mean, yeah, no,
Correct.
amazing. So while we spoke a lot of these things around customers, right, and very touching experiences that you shared, uh, I mean, again, cancer detection is again where, a lot of times the level of confidence on the precision or the accuracy from a detection perspective is of the highest priority, right? So any challenges that you faced, when you kind of started to where you are today, any key challenges that you had, especially from a tech perspective?
So tech perspective is, yeah, of course, there is a challenge for any machine learning problem, which does clinical decision support, we say, right? Because when you're trying to do a classifier, which is the machine learning classifier, supervised classifier is the basic term that is used for these things, where we're trying to say whether there's likely to be cancer or no, right? So this kind of decision, which is a two class kind of, you have to say whether this person falls in this class or that class, that way. So in these cases, having a false negative, that is missing a cancer, is really, really bad, because you're doing screening to identify people who need the follow up. And then if you end up missing, it's a problem. Having a false positive is also bad, because you can't call too many people as positive and then I go back and keep thinking, why did the tool say positive forever, right? So we have to be very careful. It's like, really, as I say, walking on a thin rope, or wire top, right? So literally you can't fall this way, that way. And obviously no person is perfect, no machine is perfect, right? So there's always sort of error on one side. So we generally say that we do not want to miss any cancer or an abnormality looks like cancer. And it's okay to have a few false positives. So the messaging is also that way. We identify if there's any abnormality, not anything that we call out, or everybody who's called out as a positive means that she will have, but she means she needs an additional test. It's just in the best interest of the lady. When you message it appropriately, then we can handle false positives also. So one is this, especially for a machine learning, Malti, the main important thing is the balanced data set, we say. Like, training set has to be balanced, enough number of positive samples and negative samples, as we call it. And but what happens in healthcare in general, and particularly in cancer, the number of people who do not have cancer is many, many more, like large segment, large ratio compared to the people who have cancer. So it's a good thing for the world that we have few number of cancers, that is maybe 1 or 2 in 100. But it's a bad thing for the technical algorithm, right? Because we need to sort of balance it, change, handle those. So that's one, so the expectation of high accuracy, and with the imbalance in data, availability of all kind of, data sets or different type of patients, it's also a major issue. Particularly for us, because we chose to use thermal imaging as a starting point. There was absolutely no data set in this world which I could download and do the first, model. So every
Okay.
bit of this 200,000 women or 1 million data points, everything is collected by us. So that's why it took us a long time, right? Even the first model,
Okay.
even to build the first model, we had to actually collect the data. So another important thing is we were using thermal images, which is not a commonly used image for breast screening, though there are a few doctors who use it in their regular clinical practice. There's no doctor today who can look at a thermal image and say whether there is an abnormality or not. Unlike, let's say, showing a picture of a dog or a cat and asking, is there a dog or a cat, and then building a dog cat model, right? So this means that every class label for every of the images had to be um, derived by us. So for every person, we made them go through both thermal as well as mammo ultrasound biopsy if needed, and then we used that label. So every data point was actually collected by us, and every label for that data point was also collected by us. So that's why it took so long. And so several such issues, but it's fun, especially the model itself is not difficult, because me and my team have been like a data scientist for like many years. So we have worked on so many problems. So we use all the good stuff that we have learned, we have read from the papers, etc., to make it really. And for healthcare, typically you need to have a mix of what we call as domain and data. Means basically you can't just derive based on data blindly and statistics. You need to sort of bring in the domain information, the medical knowledge as well. So I had to read a lot of papers and books and attend conferences on cancer, oncology, radiology, etc., to learn about the domain itself. And then, yeah, it's been fun to develop the product. But more importantly, I think the more fun and the challenges have been in getting the adoption done as well, right? Because this is a new test and you need to prove to the world that it works. First of all, you need to prove to yourself that it actually works, right? As a scientist, I have a very strong bar of acceptance for myself. So that is helpful because you say, okay, if it doesn't give this, then I'm not even going to test on any lady. So this is how it kind of went ahead. And after that, we had to do in a prospective way. Any person who comes in, she also doesn't know whether she has cancer or not, and the doctors don't know. No tests have been done. Then you have to sort of predict as a tool, right? And then the same person goes and does the rest of the thing, and then we compare at the end of the year or something, not even immediately, right? So all of this has been a great challenging way of doing it, and hence it has resulted in 35 granted patents actually. So all of them have been innovative approaches to solve.
Wow. Yeah, in fact, I read that I think you have 16 patents in your name, right? If I'm not wrong.
I lost track, but in company itself we have 35 granted patents.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, amazing. So I think I probably want to go dig a little deeper on the adoption part, right? I mean, now beyond India, you are also there in multiple countries. So what has been there your flywheels? What has been some of the aspects that you have kind of baked into your GTM strategy?
Right. So the good part is because I spent a long time at Hewlett Packard Labs and Xerox, I really feel world is one, because I've traveled so much, so uh, so it kind of, I feel it's just like next door and everybody is same, similar. I see a lot of commonality. Of course there are differences and it's fun to have the diverse aspect of it, but there's so much commonality. So the first and foremost thing was that it is the top cancer. It is a top cancer in 159 countries, right?
Okay.
And so with this, we said, why should we only have India as the goal, right? So that was
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
first one to address India, obviously, I love my country. Um, but, there is so much scope. So when we actually got a CE mark from Europe, uh, I just said, okay, we'll have the regulatory clearance from Europe. But actually, it meant a lot to the whole world. So many countries in Africa and Asia also go by the European regulatory clearance. Of course, there is
Hmm.
another step of device registration and all that. So that's something which came in as a good surprise to us. First, I just because I've been in multinational companies, I know that Indians adopt it more if US or Europe adopts it or says yes. It's like that. We don't eat the same, like what do you call hitla gidda maddala in Kannada. I'm saying hopefully some people in Kannada you know that. So we don't appreciate our own technology usually. That's Indian mentality, and I love Indians, but still, unless US says yes, they will not agree. So that is the reason why I meant for FDA. That's the reason
Hmm.
why I meant for European. But it so happened that of course it increased adoption in India. In addition, a lot of people, and we got covered by big news like BBC News, and we got World Bank Award and many awards and so on. So this just put us on a platform where many other people who are looking at this need for this solution, right, or this problem itself, they reached out to us. So many of our
Hmm.
current international expansion is mostly people wanting to partner with us, coming in and asking us whether we can work with them. So this is how it happened, and Philippines has been a great success as well, with thousands of women having taken this test with a very top oncologist, etc. So the main learning there is that every country, from a regulatory standpoint, may be different, right? Every country, you need to study the regulatory landscape, and there are different classification of devices, like based on the risk of the device itself for humans, right? So you have to first make sure that we are able to classify, put it in a correct category, work with a local player to make sure that we know we can put it up for device registration, clearance, and regulatory if need be. And because the local domestic players actually understand their country better, just like we understand India better. So that way, most of our international has been through distributors, and so it has been an excellent partnership. um, Even in India, we know that there are so many people who have a good hospital network connection, and then also diagnostic center network connections and NGOs, etc. So here also we work with dealers and distributors. Of course, we have a small sales and marketing team, very very small team, but we work a lot with partners to take this solution on ground.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, Sounds like a, in the huge scaling up mode right now.
Yes,
So
right now we are
yes,
scaling up
yeah,
because we do have excellent investors. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been here at all. So, with all the investors putting in now, obviously, we need to make sure that our revenues are good enough so that there's some value give back that we can do to the investors. So that's our current priority as well.
yeah. No, no, that makes a lot of sense. So Geeta, in healthcare, right? I mean, you've been like last 7, 8 years into healthcare, and of course, I think technology has been a great enabler in trying to solve a lot of these issues, right? I mean, non-invasive, early stage detection. What do you think in the next few years would be a next big revolution in the healthcare space?
I think the revolution in healthcare is just starting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. With,
Mm-hmm.
of course, AI definitely being a game changer is already started happening, but definitely a game changer. There are multiple things which is making this happen. One is uh, digitization of data. A lot of data no more is in paper, right? And everything is digitized. Every doctor comes with a laptop and mobile, whatever, right? All the data, all the patient data is digitized and so on. So that data is available to do some good stuff. Um, Also, the machines are becoming more and more cheaper and faster, with GPUs, all of that, which is now taken over. And the algorithms are becoming extremely smarter as well. And most importantly, people are accepting AI and the power of AI
Mm-hmm.
thanks to ChatGPT, OpenAI, etc., where people are able to realize what value AI can do with real proof of using it in their own lifestyle, right? General activities and so on. So all of this coming together, acceptance, availability, infrastructure, algorithms, etc. I think this is the time to just start making an impact with AI to different aspects. In healthcare, of course, we have different segments. I usually say there's a clinical segment, which is the most needed to be impacted and less affected so far. But yeah, we have a lot of opportunity there. Non-clinical segment is very similar to any other domain. So these two aspects will come in. Then the other one is the preventive care versus reactive care, I would say, right? So you treat not the illness, but you just take care of the health, right? So this is the angle that being more proactive rather than reactive to something that happens. Don't wait for symptoms to detect breast cancer is one of our mantras, right? Similarly for any other disease. So here, well, where AI plays a big role as well, wearable devices, small point of care devices, which help you monitor different aspects of your own health. That's another big, area of development. It has to be more and more affordable. Now, most people just check their sugar at home. Almost anyone who is diabetic will have that one touch or any other
Correct.
glucometer at home. So similarly, for all the devices, or maybe there's one magic device which does for everything. So this kind of wearable device or point of care devices and innovation in this space is also another big thing. And once you have these sensors, you need that sort of whole network to connect the doctors and so on, the remote health or telehealth and telemedical systems, right, would also be another big one. This is the second big area of IoT. It's also called IoMT, Internet of Medical Things. That's the second big area. The third big area I feel is really AR VR aspect of it. That means the doctors have to look at so much data coming from different patients and so on and so forth. So, augmented reality and virtual reality, right? Where all this information is coming to the doctor at the right time in a visual manner. All the images are combined, and as the doctor is doing the surgery, is actually seeing what the X-ray showed at that particular point. These kind of also possibly they're doing a robotic surgery, right? Remotely doing that. So all of this coming together to make the doctor's life easy, doctors availability and expertise scalable and available to
Correct.
everyone, right? So this is the other aspect, I think, where it is more non-medical, more network, more visualization, and combination of modalities, etc. So this is the other big space. I think healthcare will be impacted in the near future.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, that's right. I mean, I think from a reach perspective, especially places where you don't have these resources, so the expertise of the doctors, right, to be able to go far fetch. I think that's a, yeah, very, very, very brilliant points. I think I had kind of, shared some poll with some of my audience, and
Okay.
they had asked a bunch of questions. For example, the next big revolution was one such question. While we don't have so much of time, but I
Okay.
think one question was very intriguing, and I really want to ask this. It says, can there be a universal, I mean, can there be a healthcare coverage system which can be implemented across India? And if yes, do you think our current infrastructure support it? And if no, what is stopping us?
So I think we are going towards that direction. I'm very optimistic. You talk to any founder, they will be optimistic. I don't know about what, but I'm optimistic about everything. And yes, I think it is feasible. And I think it is feasible in India. I think we are in the right direction. There are, of course, a bunch of things we need to do differently. Today, for example, I think there's like, don't quote me, I think like 5 million or so health and wellness centers. Every nook and corner
Hmm.
we have a health and wellness center, primary health centers,
Primary healthcares. Hmm.
CHCs, CHCs. All of these are there, right? HWs are new ones that have
Hmm.
come up.
Hmm. Hmm.
So now all of these put together are excellent points of care that we can enable to whole of India, right? So these are the
Hmm.
points of care. Now we need to put in COEs, make them like center of excellences, or put all the devices which I mentioned, like the IoT and why at home. Put at these villages, these rural touch points, so that what is meant for use in an urban family, which is rich family, gets used in a community setting in a rural area.
Hmm.
So access is very very big issue in India, and we saw it in COVID, etc. So the access issue gets addressed with this, so a person can go less than 10 kilometers walking to actually reach a doctor, or at least a doctor like person who can check your vitals and do some screenings, and then connect up to the doctor in the urban ecosystem to through a tele mechanism to actually give immediate help. I think this is something that's really, really feasible from a coverage standpoint, insurance coverage standpoint. This is more like the geographic coverage part of it. Here,
Hmm.
we already have the Ayushman Bharat system, which
Hmm.
our prime minister has started, and I'm super gungo about that, because I think so many times what we do is, when we actually find a person who is likely to be abnormal, we make sure that she is on the PMJY insurance. And in fact, I've trained my program managers to help get people insurance. It's a free insurance given by the Prime Minister, Jana uh, Arogya Yojana.
Right.
So we put them on that, and they can at least get 5 lakh coverage for any of the treatment. The only change I would request, and I've already mentioned this to one of the dignitaries there, is we have to allow them to use this money even for preventive care. Today it's only after you get admitted, there is a treatment, there's a surgery, and then we can use that money. But if we can use it even for preventive care, then the treatment cost can be almost 10%.
Hmm.
You can,
Hmm. Hmm.
a treatment of stage 0, stage 1 could be 30,000 rupees, with a vacuum cone biopsy, for example, the best case, as opposed to 20, 30, 50 lakhs, if it is late stage with chemo, etc. So this difference, we can hit it if you can actually focus on prevention is definitely better than cure,
Yeah,
we
yeah,
can
yeah.
do it again and again.
More
And
proactive.
that's the change that we need from a coverage, insurance and financial coverage perspective. But I think the geographic coverage is more about strengthening these small health and wellness centers that are already coming in, and many things are portable, we'll be able to detect as well. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think I completely agree. This is kind of a combination. I mean, while technology has been a game changer, but I think a lot of these policies, implementation of a lot of these, policies and governance is what will actually be able to execute it and
Yes,
implement it, right?
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, I still have a bunch of questions. My first question is how has the collaboration with medical professionals and institutions shaped Niramai's journey?
Oh, it's very, very critical to have medical professionals and technologies work together to bring in innovative, technology oriented, deep tech health tech solutions for sure, right? I can
Hmm.
never forget Dr. Ramprakash sir, Dr. Sudhakar sir, who have been like my mentors and friends in radiology perspective, who've given a lot of knowledge. So many conferences, as mentioned, right? Every international and national conference in radiology, I'm there, right? Oncology. So I think this is very, very important. We need to do more of that, definitely. But yeah, I think it's very, very critical.
No, I was just saying that healthcare with this whole technology disruption, we are definitely seeing a lot more digital products coming in. So, what would be your advice for somebody who's coming from a non-health background, right, domain background, a product manager? What are the kind of skill set do they need to acquire to be able to shine in this space?
We say customer is king, definitely. Here
Hmm.
in healthcare, customer may be different, the paying customer may
Mhm.
be different, and the end user is different. Keep the user as your focal point. Don't cut corners. Don't try to. I've used the word cut corners in a very general word, but it has a lot of implications. Keep
Right.
the end user. Would you or your wife be able to stand in front of the breast cancer screening device? That's what, because human at the center is the most important part of it,
Correct. Correct.
right?
Correct.
Of course, you have to keep the paying customer in mind, all of that from a business development perspective. But this is most important for product development. Second, for healthcare, clinical first. We do a lot of experiments, lot of clinical testing in lab, and we can say, oh, I got 99% accuracy, and this is. But exactly what was the situation or context in which this testing was done? Was it done by the end users who would actually be using this test? Whatever, right? So the prospective
Mhm.
blinded, aspect of it, randomized aspect of it, you will use in the field aspect of it. So the clinical studies is like, don't underestimate the need for clinical studies. That clear
Yeah.
one liner for me.
Yeah, no, that is very valid. And going a little bit further in that, right? Especially in a healthcare space, right? When you are building an AI ML product, what are the success metrics that one should look for?
The fact that you started a startup is 50% success. That's what I tell. Because healthcare is a patient game, patience and patient game, actually.
Hmm.
So nothing is quick. There is no quick recipe in healthcare, particularly clinical setting, be it investors or founders. I think we have to be here for a long haul. If you're willing to spend your 10, 15 years in this area, then you please start. So this I think is the most important part.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, very well said. Patience and patient. Yeah, no, very well said. Thank you. So now with this, we go into our rapid fire round. Yeah, try to
Okay.
keep it like a one word or a two-word
Okay.
answer. All right. Who are your role models or inspirations in the tech and healthcare industries?
So I generally sort of appreciate everyone around me and
Sure.
every new leaders. But of course, I'm pretty awed by some of our Indian CEOs who are making waves in the multinational, companies. Who all are. Also, Kiran Majumdar Shah ma'am, has been my first person who said, you have to do this startup. As a lady, how she moved from a non-medical, and then she's leading one of the largest pharma industry in India. She is, I look up to her as well. And on the social side, like Kalam sir and, I don't know, I feel like Mother Teresa. I really
Oh,
feel like that kindness is so important when you are actually, reaching out to patients.
yeah. No, no, very wonderful. What's one trait that every entrepreneur should have?
Optimism, integrity, and
Mm-hmm.
resilience. There's so many ups and downs, more downs than ups. You have to be, it's almost like a spiritual journey. You just, karmanye vadika raste, remaining live it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Risk taking or cautious planning?
Uh, Optimistic planning.
Okay, that's a combination. All right. User feedback or market research?
User feedback.
What book are you currently reading?
Oh, I got this book right here. It's called
Oh,
Gerson Therapy. This
uh-huh.
is basically on what to eat, how to fight cancer by good diet. So I've just finished a few hundred pages, but this is from Charlotte Gerson and
Mm-hmm.
Morton Walker. It's for everyone and also for cancer patients. You know, how to eat, what to eat, and what type of food to eat. And I think we all need to read and practice.
Awesome. Okay, yeah. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you so much. This has been such a great occasion talking to you. Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Geeta, for sharing the time with us.
Thank you, Malti. It's been a great pleasure having this discussion with you and very lively conversation. Thank you so much.
Sure. Thank you. My pleasure.
Product Talk with Malti.